But it won't just be the silent majority. We will even get more political figures, more public figures standing up and defending what we are fighting for. And one of those figures is with us today. Oh. Trouble is, the last time I did this, I said, please enter stage right, Robert Jenrick. Nothing. I thought perhaps he changed his mind. And then he put some music on in the intermission. So I'll try it another time. Somebody who's reached high office in the cabinet, reaching up to the rank of Home Secretary, but was there during those years and saw the betrayal of both our current and our former military, and now has the courage of her, there's a clue, and now has the courage of her convictions to come and stand with me on a reform platform and speak to you today, because it's about time, isn't it? It's about time the establishment owned up to what they got wrong. She was witness to much of us. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome to the stage former Home Secretary Suella Braverman. Oh. Right, it's all yours. I will become.
Thank you, Nigel, for that wonderful introduction. I feel like I've come home. I feel like I've come home. Thank you. And I gotta say, what an honor it is to be with all of you. Gallant, noble, brave servicemen and women. You've put your country first. You've sacrificed. You've given us everything. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for the United Kingdom. Now, you didn't do that for applause. You didn't serve your country for reward. You did it because you believe passionately in the greatness of our country. You believe fiercely in its valor. You're not apologizing for our history. You're proud of the vast contribution that Britain has made to civilization for centuries. And you have put your lives on the line in phenomenal acts of bravery, time and time again, ultimately because of love. Love of our dear country. And it's because of that same love that I am standing here today. I too share that love of our country. I inherited it from my parents. They came to this country with nothing in the 1960s. My dad wasn't even 20 when he was kicked out of Kenya and came to the United Kingdom. My mother was an 18-year-old girl when she was recruited by the NHS in Mauritius. They came here and they devoted their lives to the service of this country because of gratitude. Gratitude for the stability and the opportunity that this country gave them. And when a country gives you everything, like it has done me, you owe it loyalty. And loyalty demands honesty. And honesty compels me to say this today. Britain is indeed broken. She is suffering. She is not well. Immigration is out of control. Our public services are on their knees. People don't feel safe. Our youngsters are leaving the country for better futures elsewhere. We can't even defend ourselves, and our nation stands weak and humiliated on the world stage. So we stand at a crossroads. We can either continue down this route of managed decline to weakness and surrender, or we can fix our country, reclaim our power, rediscover our strength. I believe that a better Britain is possible. And because I believe that is possible, today I'm announcing that I resign the Conservative whip. Done it. I resigned the Conservative and my party membership, a party membership of 30 years. It's gone. It's over today. And because I believe with my heart and soul that a better future is possible for us, I am joining Reform UK. And I will sit as the Member of Parliament for Fareham and Waterlooville, representing this great party, Reform UK, with immediate effect. Now, I haven't taken this decision lightly, and I know there'll be some people, particularly in Fareham and Waterlooville Conservatives, who will feel sad and disappointed by this. I will explain my reasons in full later on today, but right now I want to talk about you, our veterans, because you deserve to be heard. Now, in Fareham and Waterlooville, from the beaches of Portchester, you can look across the water at the naval dockyards in Portsmouth. And we are very, very proud of our Queen Elizabeth class aircraft carriers in Pompey. Anyone here from Pompey today? Very good. Good men. Up the Pompey. And indeed, Waterlooville gets its name from that famous victory over Napoleon, because returning soldiers would stop in my constituency to celebrate with a pint on their way home. And over the last decade of being a Member of Parliament, I've had the deep honour of meeting many of our brave servicemen and women around the world. I visited our Royal Marines in the Arctic Circle, and we camped out overnight in sub-zero temperatures in the depths of the Norwegian forest. I'm brave, but I didn't do the ice jump. I will confess I didn't do the ice jump. I'm brave, but I'm not that brave. I've watched our soldiers train on the Canadian prairie in Alberta, and I've met our new recruits from HMS Collingwood, brimming with hope and pride and courage. And in Fareham and Waterlooville itself, there are thousands of veterans. Sometimes there are roads where almost every house has someone who has served. And whether it's a new apprentice or a D-Day veteran, a veteran from Afghan or from the Falklands, I have learnt so much from you. And I've learnt one big lesson, and it's this, that the reality of service life bears no resemblance to the rhetoric. Because the truth is this, for all the warm words and the symbolic gestures, we have failed our veterans. I've met too many veterans whose housing just isn't good enough. Why? Because MOD is broken, DIO doesn't work, and service family accommodation is not good enough. I've met too many veterans who can't get the medical treatment that they deserve for injuries that they sustained in service. For those who gave us their everything, we've left to fight alone. It's a national disgrace. Why? Why has this happened? Because over the last decade, defence spending has been hollowed out. Our armed forces stand at the smallest number in 200 years. Our equipment is inadequate. Our aircraft carriers don't even have enough aircraft or destroyers. Our resilience is depleted. We can't even defend ourselves. What kind of country is that? And the biggest scandal of all, the relentless pursuit of our brave servicemen through the courts decades after their duty has been done. The biggest scandal. Men who fought terrorism, men who protected us from the IRA, hounded through the courts on spurious prosecutions for doing their duty. It's one of the biggest scandals of our nation. How has it been allowed to happen? Because of the European Convention on Human Rights. The ECHR. The ECHR is a system whereby the human rights of terrorists have become more important than your human rights. It's a system where IRA families can claim compensation and British soldiers must be prosecuted for murder. It's a system of law which has been weaponized by our enemies against our brave. Now, when I was Attorney General 6 years ago, I worked on the law to protect our veterans. But the truth is, it was virtually impossible because of the ECHR. And so the following year, in 2022, I broke ranks. And I became the first Conservative minister to say publicly what needed to be said, that the United Kingdom must withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights. End the madness. Stand up for our soldiers. Leave our veterans in peace. And what did the Conservative Party say? My Conservative ministerial colleagues. They said, no, we can't do that. It's too divisive. It's too difficult. It's too dangerous. Not the right time. You see, even those who are leading the Conservative Party today failed to understand what needed to be done, and they opposed me. You see, when it mattered, when we had the majority, when we had the power, indeed when we had the duty, the Conservative Party utterly failed to do the right thing for the British people. I didn't give up. The following year, when I was Home Secretary, I tried again. This time, I pleaded personally with the Prime Minister himself. What did he do? He ignored me, then he blocked me, and then he sacked me. All the while, promising to the British people that he would do whatever it takes to stop the boats and protect our veterans. Saying one thing in public, doing the total opposite in private. And as my friend Robert Jenrick has found, that's the great tragedy with the Conservative Party. Great speeches, good slogans, but when the cameras are off, when the doors are shut, and when they're sat behind that table making the difficult decisions for the country, they fold. When push comes to shove, they go AWOL. No courage, no backbone, no resolve. Even today, their so-called promise to leave the ECHR. It's a lie. It's a lie. Half of the Conservative MPs are dead against it. Another group don't even understand it. And a mere handful sincerely believe that it's the right thing to do. So I'm calling time. I'm calling time on Tory betrayal. I'm calling time on Tory lies. I'm calling time on a party that keeps making promises with zero intention of keeping them. I tried my best. I tried privately, politely, nicely. I can be nice. They ignored me. Then I tried loudly and forcefully, and then they sacked me and punished me for telling the truth. You see, the truth is, there is no way on earth that the Conservative Party will ever take the United Kingdom out of the ECHR, and there is no way on earth it will ever keep its promises to you. Enough is enough. Enough of this political delusion. Enough of this political lies. Enough of these political chameleons who say one thing to one group and then another thing to another group. The country is crying out for authentic leadership, credible leadership, leadership that it can trust. And you know, do you know how you can tell if someone is authentic and credible? You ask yourself, have they been consistent? And there is only one man in British politics who has been courageously consistent for his country, and that man is Nigel Farage. It's true. It's true. When the establishment has tried to shut him down, they've tried to destroy him, they've tried to vilify him and smear him, he has kept standing up and speaking for you, speaking the truth, speaking our fears, saying what we've all needed to hear. He's not backed down in the face of vicious onslaught, vicious vitriol and backlash. When Nigel Farage said that the country was at breaking point because immigration was out of control, the establishment tried to smear him and demonize him. But he was proven right, and the British people backed him. When Nigel Farage said that the EU was destroying democracy, the government tried to shut him down. But he was proven right, and the British people backed him. And today, when Nigel Farage is the only political leader with the backbone to say that Britain is broken and Reform UK will fix it, the mainstream parties are doing everything they can to destroy him. But you know what? They won't do it. Because Nigel Farage is right, and the British people are backing him.
Thank you.
Nigel knows about courage. You know about courage. Courage means not flinching under pressure. Courage means facing down your opponent and carrying on with steadfast determination. Courage means overcoming adversity with strength. Courage means keeping your promises to your country. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, it's the honor of my life to join your team today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very good. Big round of applause for Suella. Well, what about that? What about that? And a big boost for veterans for reform and for the party as a whole. And she was right about one thing. We have to remove the barriers. We have to remove the barriers to the right things being done. And I'm afraid, whatever the good intentions of the European Convention on Human Rights over 3/4 of a century ago, it is no longer appropriate for the 21st century world. We will remove the barriers to justice for our veterans and much else by leaving the ECHR. But today isn't just about stopping prosecutions and pardoning people. There's something much deeper that matters. How can it be that somebody who enters our country illegally, having destroyed their identity documents, is a higher priority for housing than a former serviceman or woman who has fallen on hard times? It's outrageous, it's wrong, and it's time to start putting our own people and our own veterans community first. And we must do that. And we must do that. And we will do that. I want to thank you all for coming here today. Well done for getting in early for the tickets, because there's a big waiting list. It's been a great event, an uplifting event, and I know that much of what was said earlier, I could sense watching from the gallery. There was some pretty deep emotion in the room too. And I want, just before we end, I know that many of you know what loss is. You've seen it on your active service, and so I would like to end what I think has been a very, very important event. If you'd all stand, please, and join me in a minute's silence for the fallen. Thank you very much indeed. everybody. And I'll leave you with our piper. Thank you very much indeed.
Central London before that, Suella Braverman, the former Conservative Home Secretary who has defected to Reform UK. The MP for Fareham and Waterlooville is now a Reform UK MP with immediate effect. Let's bring in Beth Rigby, who joins us. Beth, and now there were 8.
Yeah, big breaking news there that Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary, has become the latest Conservative to defect to Reform. It takes the tally of Reform MPs up to 8, and 5 of those, I think, have come from the Conservatives. Lee Anderson, then you had Danny Kruger, of course, Robert Jenrick last week or the week before, Andrew Rosendale, and now Suella Braverman. And interestingly there, she did that in a rally rather than a speech in which she took questions. So we don't know whether she intends to trigger a by-election in her seat. I would think she does not, that she is crossing to Reform, but I don't think there's any sense there that she's going to trigger a by-election. And look, in terms of what she said about her defection, she said, "I feel like I've come home. I'm resigning the Conservative whip." Her husband, Raoul Braverman, who defected to Reform a few months ago, tweeted, "You found a home where you've belonged." So huge moment here for the Conservative Party. But I have to say, it doesn't come as much of a surprise. I was talking to some members of the Shadow Cabinet last week about defections and about likely next defections. And there was consensus really amongst people that I spoke to that Braverman would likely defect to Reform. Why? Well, she was Home Secretary. She ran for the leadership, not this time around, but the time before. She was considered a flag bearer, if you like, of the right of the party. But really her star has fallen over the past year or so, with Robert Jenrick really taking the mantle from her. She was on the backbenches. And one colleague who had been quite close to her, I think, had said to me last week, she's very distant from the party now. She keeps herself to herself. She seems very detached from the Conservative Party, and they said that they expected her to defect, and defect she has. And just in terms of what she said there, she talked about Tory betrayal and lies. She said very strongly that the Conservative Party's promise to leave the European Convention on Human Rights was a lie. She said that they would not follow through, and she said that the Conservatives are a party who won't keep its promises to you. I've had enough of this, of the delusions and the lines. She then repeated some of Jenrick's terminology about the party being broken, or rather Britain being broken, and it was only Reform that could fix it. So another big name, defection to Reform. Someone from Reform actually just messaged me momentarily ago saying it shows that the most popular frontbencher, Robert Jenrick, has left for Reform, and Suella Braverman was apparently, according to polls, the most popular backbencher. So she now also defecting to Reform. So this obviously a big moment for the party. They now have, as I said, 5 former Conservatives crossing over to Reform. Braverman not a surprise, but undoubtedly she is another big name Conservative that has decided that she would have a better future in Reform than the Conservative Party. We're waiting for some sort of response to the Conservatives, but just a bit more on what she said in that speech. She said, "Britain is indeed broken. She's suffering. She's not well. Immigration is out of control. Our public services are on their knees. People don't feel safe." She said, "We can either continue down this route of managed decline to weakness and surrender, or we can fix our country, reclaim our power, rediscover our strength." So there you have it. Another Conservative defection to Reform, and a former cabinet minister in one of the top offices of state. Suella Braverman joins Robert Jenrick as one of the leading lights now of reform. And remember, Nigel Farage said, about 10 days ago, I think it was. It seems a lot longer ago than that. It's been a lot of politics of late. But he said that the deadline for any more Conservative defections was ahead of that May set of local elections, Scottish and Welsh elections. He's trying to build that momentum. And final thought, I think for the Labour Party today, who are in the middle of a very, very bloody war between Keir Starmer, Andy Burnham and different factions, they will be very pleased indeed that the spotlight for now is turned away from them and onto Reform and the Conservatives.
Beth, I'm sure your phone is lighting up as we speak, so I'll let you deal with that for a few moments, and let's just bring you some of the latest comments, as we've just been hearing from the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, who in the last few moments has defected to Reform. Let's remind ourselves of what she said.
Britain is indeed broken. She is suffering. She is not well. Immigration is out of control. Our public services are on their knees. People don't feel safe. Our youngsters are leaving the country for better futures elsewhere. We can't even defend ourselves, and our nation stands weak and humiliated on the world stage. So we stand at a crossroads. We can either continue down this route of managed decline to weakness and surrender, or we can fix our country, reclaim our power, rediscover our strength. I believe that a better Britain is possible. And because I believe that is possible, today I'm announcing that I resign the Conservative whip. Done it. I resigned the Conservative and my party membership, a party membership of 30 years. It's gone. It's over today. And because I believe with my heart and soul that a better future is possible for us, I am joining Reform UK.
And it was that news that Robert Jenrick, the MP for Newark, reacted to. Welcome, Suella Braverman. Great to be on the same team again. Let's take our country back. And Suella, as Beth Rigby, our political editor, was saying, follows on the heels of several other high-profile defections from the Conservatives, including Robert Jenrick as well, people including Danny Kruger as well before that. It brings the number of Reform MPs sitting in the Commons to 8, reduces the number of Conservative MPs to 116. And you can see there these images from a short while ago. This is Suella Braverman at a veterans event, a Reform UK veterans event in London, saying that she had resigned her Conservative Party membership of 30 years, saying that she would represent her constituency of Fareham and Waterlooville as a Reform UK MP with immediate effect. There she is, greeting Nigel Farage following that announcement. There was no Q&A session, so we are awaiting further details as to the exact drivers and the exact process now that's going to take place. Will Suella Braverman call a by-election and trigger one? It seems unlikely, so says Beth Rigby. It seems likely that she will serve out the rest of the parliamentary term as a member of Reform UK, sitting in Westminster alongside other politicians for the party. Suella Braverman said Nigel Farage was the only man in politics who'd been courageously consistent as she took to that stage. She called for the UK to leave the European Convention for Human Rights, said that she had been sacked and punished for telling the truth with regards to the ECHR. And she said that the Conservatives' current promise to leave the ECHR was, I quote, a lie. And thus I'm calling time. I'm calling time on Tory betrayal, on Tory lies. I'm calling time on a party that keeps making promises with zero intention of keeping them. We're going to bring you plenty more details. There's going to be plenty more reaction to this story as well. If you want all the latest, it's going to be on the Politics Hub live blog, on your Sky News app, or on the Sky News website too. We're going to have plenty more as well on the Politics Hub later this evening with Matt Barbette. He's going to have all of the day's reaction from Westminster. We're going to have plenty more in a few moments' time after the break. The breaking news of the last few moments, Suella Braverman has defected from the Conservative Party to Reform UK. She made the announcement at a Reform UK veterans event just a few moments ago, live in central London. The sitting MP will now become the 8th Reform MP and one of 5 former Conservatives to have crossed the aisle to have joined Reform, hot on the heels of people including Danny Kruger and also Robert Jenrick too, who tweeted welcoming his former Conservative cabinet colleague to Reform. Well, let's bring in our political commentator Adam Bolton. And Adam, we were talking about the Labour Party an hour and a half ago. It's all changed. A week is a long time in politics, and we're only at 12:52 on a Monday morning. What do you make of this? This, in many respects, is credit to Nigel Farage for the fact that he's managed to lure yet another Conservative MP into his ranks. But at the same time, this poses the challenge to him, is he just rewrapping the Christmas presents and re-gifting them in a different name?
Yeah, exactly. And Gareth, as you say, we've got turmoil in both the Labour and Conservative Party, which I think underlines what we all know, is that British politics is fragmented at the moment, with challenger parties emerging very strongly, Reform and, of course, the Greens on the other side. And the Liberal Democrats aren't doing too badly either. And then we've got the Nationalists. But this, I think, is a major move for Nigel Farage. They've been trailing the fact that they were going to get a significant Labour defector for quite a long time. They haven't yet managed to go public with that. So to get Suella Braverman, a former Home Secretary, is part of what Nigel Farage says he's trying to do, which is to build a front bench so that Reform could credibly go into government with people who've done the job before, worked with the civil service, worked on government policy. So I think all of that is positive. And of course, it fits with Robert Jenrick and it also fits with Nadhim Zahawi. The only thing I would say is that both Nadhim Zahawi and Suella Braverman are somewhat tainted in as much as there has been controversy leading to their resignations or departures from the cabinet in the past. They're both people who, in Suella Braverman's case, certainly has always been perceived as being on the right. I understand that her husband has been in and out of the Reform Party, perhaps coming out again to take the eye of suspicion away from her. So it helps Nigel Farage in terms of looking like a potential prime minister. It helps Nigel Farage in terms of taking Reform's incursion into the south of England, where it hasn't been so strong because, of course, she has a seat in Hampshire, I think, in the south of England. So that is good. Whether it's going to convince that many people who are wavering when an unpopular figure like Suella Braverman crosses to Reform, I think is very much a different question. And of course, the other thing will be what impact it will have on the Conservative Party, because both Farage and Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the Conservatives, have said, if you're going to go to Reform, go now, go before the May elections. And as we saw at the weekend, we had a startup of a inside Conservative Party attempt led by Ruth Davidson and Andy Street to say, look, we ought to be following a bit more centrist policies. So I think the net effect of this is going to be to exacerbate the difference, if you like, in policy terms between Reform UK and the Conservatives. And that, of course, is interesting because we'll have to see whether that has any effect either way on those two parties' fortunes.
When Robert Jenrick went from the Conservatives to the Reform UK party ranks. He kind of was snubbed in any announcement that he was preparing to make because Kemi Badenoch managed to push him before he jumped, if indeed he was going to jump in that moment. It looked as though it was coming because of that reported draft of that press release. What does this do for Kemi Badenoch? Because she was relatively riding on a high, all things considered. She was looking quite strong, relatively strong leadership, but she does still have the issue of that kind of drip feed of departures, which must slowly have an impact, surely.
Yes, she does. And there'll obviously be fears that there are going to be others who are going to follow, who are going to decide that their best political future is switching to Reform. At the same time, what it does is it consolidates her position in the party. It removes another thorn from her side. You know, there'll be former colleagues in the party. One thinks, without naming names, and I don't want to speak for him, but someone...
Well, we don't have much time to name those names, Adam, I'm afraid. As
someone
you'll
like
be well
Mel
aware.
Stride might actually think good riddance to someone like Suella Braverman.
We will leave it there on that note. Adam, good to have you with us. Adam Bolton, you're watching Sky News. Plenty more insight, analysis and reaction to come with Jane Secker in 3 minutes' time.
Hello, you're watching Sky News Today with me, Jane Secker. It's 1 o'clock. These are the headlines. The former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, becomes the latest Conservative MP to defect to Reform.
Done it. Done it. I resigned the Conservative and my party membership, a party membership of 30 years. It's gone. It's over today.
The Prime Minister says Andy Burnham is doing a great job, but allowing him to run as an MP would have been the wrong move now.
Having an election for the Mayor of Manchester when it's not necessary would divert our resources away from the elections that we must have and that we must fight and win.
Also ahead, former Democrat Presidents Clinton and Obama speak out after another fatal shooting of a US citizen by immigration agents in Minneapolis. Here, the Home Secretary prepares to unveil sweeping changes to policing, including a new national police service and cutting 999 response times. Plus, at least 7 people have died and more than 1 million are without power as a huge winter storm hits large parts of the US. And the UK braces for Storm Chandra, which is forecast to bring strong winds and heavy rain and snow tomorrow. Hello, thanks for joining us. The former Conservative Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, has become the latest Tory MP to defect to Reform UK. She made the announcement this morning with the party's leader, Nigel Farage.
Britain is indeed broken. She is suffering. She is not well. Immigration is out of control. Our public services are on their knees. People don't feel safe. Our youngsters are leaving the country for better futures elsewhere. We can't even defend ourselves, and our nation stands weak and humiliated on the world stage. So we stand at a crossroads. We can either continue down this route of managed decline to weakness and surrender, or we can fix our country, reclaim our power, rediscover our strength. I believe that a better Britain is possible. And because I believe that is possible, today I'm announcing that I resign the Conservative whip. I resigned the Conservative and my party membership, a party membership of 30 years. It's gone. It's over today. And because I believe with my heart and soul that a better future is possible for us, I am joining Reform UK.
Well, in the last hour, Robert Jenrick, who also defected a couple of weeks ago, posted on X, "Welcome, Suella Braverman. Great to be on the same team again. Let's take our country back." Well, let's bring in our political correspondent, Alexandra Rogers. Alex, it was known within the Conservative Party that Suella Braverman wasn't particularly content. She was always a potential defector to reform. But what impact will it have now that she's gone?
This was a massive moment. I was watching this news conference, and it was quite a low-key affair about veterans, and then all of a sudden the room just broke out into cheers when it was announced that she was defecting. She said, "I felt like I've come home." The former Home Secretary, she has been an arch critic of Rishi Sunak. She voted against the Rwanda bill, but there were rumours that she might potentially do this, but there had been lots of hesitation and months of quiet. You know, we weren't quite sure that she was going to make that leap. And I think I was speaking to reform sources here in the conference hall, and they said this really felt like the Tory right was collapsing. First we had Robert Jenrick, we had Andrew Rosendale, and now Suella Braverman. I think the interesting thing is with Robert Jenrick, Kemi Badenoch had sort of foresight that this might be happening, and she was able to come out on the front foot. But I think this would have caught her off guard, and now she'll be scrambling for a response. We're still waiting for the Tories to respond. So let's see how she tries to frame this. Is this more spring cleaning, or is this a hammer blow for Kemi Badenoch and her authority?
And what about the impact on the Labour Party? We saw Keir Starmer talking today about not allowing Andy Burnham to stand. In a way, he'll be thrilled. This has knocked that news off the top of the political newsletters, hasn't it? But he did even say this morning that he sees reform as the biggest threat to Labour at the next set of elections.
Yes, I mean, infighting is just sort of dominating the headlines at the moment. I imagine Keir Starmer will be pleased that maybe Kemi Badenoch is the one struggling now. But again, all this is good for reform. This keeps reform in the headlines. It keeps boosting their reputation. So just Nigel Farage is the real winner here now.
Alex, thanks very much. Well, we've been hearing from Reform's leader, Nigel Farage. Let's take a listen.
Nigel Farage, you've just welcomed former Conservative Home Secretary Suella Braverman to Reform. That's 3 Conservative MPs in the last week and a half. You're a party of recycled Tories now.
Well, we're a party that accepts talent. If you get people who we believe are talented, who will put their shoulder to the wheel, who will help us, but are also prepared to admit honestly the failings of the Conservative Party in 14 years in government, and particularly in the last term, provided they're prepared to put their hands up and say, "I'm sorry, we got this badly wrong." They've got experience of being in the front line, which of course I lack, and many of my team lack, then they're very welcome. And I think it's very interesting. I mean, today, there are 2 big political stories. One of them is Suella Braverman joining Reform. The other, of course, is Andy Burnham being blocked from standing in the Denson
Well, let's get some reaction. Joining me now, Deputy Editor of Conservative Home, Henry Hill. Henry, good to talk to you today. So it sounds like Reform is really becoming the home for lost Conservatives, doesn't it?
That is certainly the impression that they will be trying to cultivate, and the more defections they get, the more successful they will be. I think that Suella Braverman would probably have been near the top of most people's lists of Tory MPs, certainly high-profile Tory MPs who would potentially defect to Reform UK. Her husband has previously made the jump himself. She has always positioned herself well on the right of the Parliamentary Conservative Party. So on that metric, it's not particularly surprising. But of course, despite what political expectation managers would like you to believe, whether or not something is surprising is not the measure of whether or not it is bad news. Just last week, our Conservative Home panel voted Suella Braverman Conservative Backbencher of the Year. This is the same panel that voted Robert Jenrick Shadow Cabinet Member of the Year and Kemi Badenoch Leader, Politician of the Year. So it is clearly a challenge for Kemi Badenoch that these popular right-wing MPs who are popular with the grassroots of the Conservative Party, even when that grassroots supports Kemi Badenoch, are finding a home somewhere else.
That is a real problem for the party, isn't it? What does that mean if your party members are swinging to the right or actively saying that the people that they support are from the right of the party, and that the party that is actually the party of opposition doesn't seem to be their natural home. Does it follow that these are voters who will then vote Reform at the next election?
Well, the crucial thing is about Conservative Party members is that they haven't said that yet. And I think that Kemi Badenoch's biggest challenge as leader at the moment is making sure that they don't. And we've seen some of this since she became leader. Of course, she has moved substantially on the European Convention on Human Rights during the leadership contest in November 24. That was a Robert Jenrick policy leaving, and she has now adopted that. But the problem that she has is that she stood for the leadership effectively as a bit of a blank slate. Robert Jenrick had his diagnosis, and she positioned herself very adroitly as the candidate best positioned to scoop up all of the not Robert Jenrick candidates who didn't really like what he was saying, but didn't necessarily have an alternative position. And now she has a very divided parliamentary party. And the real danger for her is that, on the day that Robert Jenrick defected and the days afterwards, you had people on the left of the parliamentary party, and indeed sort of its supporters in the press and elsewhere, who were very triumphalists, who were sort of giving the impression that they'd got their party back and now it was time for a big policy swing. That is the absolute last thing that Kemi Badenoch needs to happen. Because the fact is that even though the Conservative Party is much smaller than it was, both in terms of membership and in terms of MPs, it is still only has a future as Britain's main right-wing party. Right. And I think that there is a danger that some of her supporters from the leadership contests, who would describe themselves as centre-right, are focusing too much on the centre and realising that if you don't have a critical mass of the right inside the party, the Conservative Party doesn't really have a point.
Do you think there's a real danger that the Conservative Party will cease to be the official opposition, and not because they're in power?
That would be an extraordinary development from where we are now. If you think about the fact that the Conservatives are still have more than 110, slightly less than 120 MPs. Reform have 7, I think, at the moment.
8.
The Liberal Democrat. So the Conservatives would have to sort of fall to a point where either Reform directly overtook them, in which case they'd be well on the track to just dissolving, frankly, or they'd have to somehow have some really messy split where they fell below the Liberal Democrats, which would be hugely embarrassing for all concerned, I think. So I think that in this Parliament, the Conservatives' position is probably secure. But given the relative marginality of their seat majorities, the fact that they've got 120 seats, some Tory MPs after the last election were thinking, oh, OK, we're safe now. It's like 1997. That's not the case. They could have a really bad time next time.
You mentioned the ECHR. Suella Braverman really made it very clear that she didn't believe the Conservative Party have a real commitment to leave that. She said they won't leave the ECHR. There's no way on earth the Conservative Party will take the country out of it. How important is that for many of the members that you talk to?
So there is certainly a strong section of the party which is animated by it directly, either for constitutional reasons or just because they're very across it in its own terms. But also, I think that the main problem with the ECHR, and this is why the right of the party has got increasingly frustrated with the left of the party, is that the ECHR is simply continuing to make it impossible to have the sort of border control policies that the British public want. And there is an endless drip feed of absurd-seeming rulings from the lower tribunal and various other immigration courts, which mean that, we can't deport people who've committed terrible crimes in this country, even if they were here illegally. And so whilst leaving the ECHR isn't actually necessarily entirely necessary, because in Britain we can simply pass laws that say the ECHR does not apply to this legislation and so on. There is a general belief, increasing belief amongst anyone who's had to do much about law and order, immigration, the Home Office, that the current operation of the ECHR makes getting serious about immigration control impossible. So for that reason, that's why the shift from Kemi Badenoch, I think, took place. And I think that it will be incredibly difficult for the Conservative Party if they were somehow to return to office on their own and not do something about this, because that would, I suspect, be a final breach of trust, which the electorate wouldn't forgive them for.
Do you think more senior members of the Conservative Party will jump? And if so, what can Kemi Badenoch do to stop them?
So Nigel Farage says he's talking to about 6 Tory MPs. Of course, take that with a pinch of salt. During the UKIP years, he would constantly be saying that he was talking to 9 or more Tory MPs, only 2 of those ever defected. But it is not implausible, shall we say. It can be a bit difficult to judge these things if they're well managed, because, of course, a defection is one of the most personal decisions that you can make in politics. It will be down to an enormous number of factors beyond simply how far to the right of the Conservative Party you are on the parliamentary scale. What Kemi Badenoch can do, it's tricky. She has already had to sort of give out shadow cabinet positions on the basis of balancing the various factions. She doesn't obviously have that much scope to free up new positions there and give jobs to different people. She can try and accelerate this interminable policy review that the Conservatives have now been conducting for the better part of a year and a half, and give members and MPs a clearer idea of what she stands for and what the Conservatives will fight the next election on. But other than that, I think it's that policy void which is one of the reasons that the elements of the right of the party are so concerned, because we simply, even now, there have been a few announcements, things like stamp duty at the Conservative Party conference, but we really just don't know what the next Conservative manifesto is going to look like.
Henry Hill, the Deputy Editor of Conservative Home, thank you so much for joining us on this breaking story. Thank you. Well, we played you a little teaser. We have been hearing from Reform's leader, Nigel Farage. Let's have a listen.
Well, we'll come to Andy Burnham in a second, but you talk about Britain being broken, but you're filling Reform with the very people that broke it.
Well, the Conservative government did break it, absolutely. But you see, there are people like Robert Jenrick who resigned as a matter of principle. People like Suella Braverman who spoke out on ECHR, said we should leave, and was removed from her post. So we are taking people who tried their best to fight the system at the time, and they admit they failed, and that's why they're here.
But can the public trust them, given their record in office? Are you not worried that this could come back to bite you?
Look, I'm not welcoming people like Priti Patel, who says she did nothing wrong, despite opening the doors to the biggest levels of immigration Britain ever saw. I'm not welcoming Boris Johnson. I'm not recognising those who were part of the problem and still refuse to accept it.
OK, on to Andy Burnham and that by-election now. Have you decided who will run for Reform in the Gorton and Denton by-election?
We haven't decided yet who the candidate is. Our applications closed last night, and I'll be looking at it this afternoon.
Do you think Andy Burnham not running makes it easier now for you to win it?
I think if Andy Burnham had run, he would have picked up an anti-Keir Starmer vote. Bear in mind, this is the most unpopular Prime Minister in living memory. There would have been a pro-Burnham, anti-Starmer vote. That won't be there anymore, and I think the anti-Starmer vote will come to us.
Richard Tice's been saying today that Labour's terrified of Reform in Greater Manchester. That's why Andy Burnham was blocked from Parliament. But you have silenced some of your own dissenters, Rupert Lowe, Ben Habib, for example. So if you were Prime Minister Keir Starmer today, you would have made the same decision, sure.
Well, look, they've made their decision for whatever reason. Yes, it's quite possible that Andy Burnham could have won the by-election, but that Labour could have lost the Greater Manchester mayoralty. That is quite possible. Look, I'm very happy for people to have different points of view, as long as they're batting for the same team. We've had one or two difficulties over the last year. We've dealt with them.
But Andy Burnham has got better favourability ratings than just about any other politician. If he was Prime Minister, that would be harder for you, wouldn't it be?
He's not Prime Minister. He's not likely to be Prime Minister. He'll have to win a by-election and get back into Parliament. And I think this particular constituency probably offered him one of the best prospects he could possibly have had. So whatever side of the argument we're on, I think we're stuck with Keir Starmer for a period of time.
You've been talking about veterans and your pledges to them if you form a Reform government. Trump obviously upset a lot of people last week about his comments, NATO troops in Afghanistan. Did he do the right thing to make that statement? Was he right to apologise?
There was no way Donald Trump ever meant the British. Ever. And you talk to people in his team, and they're very, very pro this country. And our contribution in Afghanistan, pro rata, exactly matched that of America. The one thing I have picked up from Americans, not him, but other Americans, is their deep concern about what's happening to our special forces. These endless prosecutions, the use of the ECHR against British veterans. If we devalue our special forces, we make our relationship with America militarily weaker. And we've got to recognise that we are incapable of defending ourselves without American support.
There's a lot of anger in the United States right now about the way ICE agents are conducting themselves. 2 people shot dead in Minnesota. You will have seen the videos. What's your reaction? They are going too far, are they not? That man had been disarmed. He was shot in the head 10 times. He was no longer carrying a gun.
The fact that he was carrying a gun, of course, meant that he was
allowed.
Sorry?
You're allowed to carry a gun in Minnesota.
Yes, but you don't carry a gun to a protest. That's the point. If you're going to protest, you don't carry a gun, even if it's an open carry state. Look, it looks like ICE have gone way over the top. But I'm afraid every single year in America, we see examples of the police, of the authorities that go way too far. But because it's ICE, it's obviously much more controversial. And I sensed, coming out of the White House last night, they're pretty uncomfortable too.
And just finally, Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, is suggesting that if you bring in your mass deportations to the United Kingdom, we could see similar scenes of violence and disorder. Has this given you pause at all? What's your response to what Sadiq Khan said?
We do not routinely, as a country, give our police force, give our authority weapons unless there is an imminent risk of a terror attack. And when it comes to deportations, the point is, if people are here illegally, they shouldn't be here. It's as simple as that. Now, no one's pretending this will be easy. No one's pretending there won't be pushback. But it needs to happen because if it doesn't, you don't stop the flow of people continually coming here illegally. And overwhelmingly, the British public think, whilst we welcome people from other countries in the right numbers, illegal immigration has to stop. And it's very near the top of the public's concerns.
Nigel Farage, thank you.
Well, we're going to bring you news from the Labour Party in a moment. But first, let me bring you a bit of breaking news. It was trailed last week, but it has now been confirmed that Nigella Lawson is to replace Dame Prue Leith on the Great British Bake Off. She says, "I am bubbling with excitement. The Great British Bake Off is more than a television programme. It's a national treasure, and it's a huge honour to be entrusted with it." Dame Prue, who she succeeds, says, "I'm thrilled that Nigella is to experience brilliant Bake Off. She is sassy, fun, and she knows her onions and her croissants, cake and crumble." That might cheer you up anyway. Now, back to politics. The Prime Minister has defended his decision to block the Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham from returning to Parliament. Sir Keir Starmer says he's doing a great job, but insists a new election to replace him in his current role wouldn't be good for the party. It comes after Mr Burnham was blocked from standing in an upcoming by-election by Labour's National Executive Committee over the weekend. Our chief political correspondent, John Craig, joins us now from Westminster. I imagine the Prime Minister will be pleased that the reform news will have knocked this off some of the front pages.
Yes, it was interesting that in an interview with Sky News yesterday, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, who also chairs Labour's National Executive, used the word psychodrama, which is the one that Kemi Badenoch used about Tory defections. So that interview with Mr Farage, during the course of it, he said he believed that it would have been very difficult for Reform UK to beat Labour in the Gorton and Denton by-election if Mr Burnham had been the candidate. He said we probably would have come a good second. While we're talking about Labour, there has been a Labour reaction to the defection of Suella Braverman. This comes from Anna Turley, who is the chair of the Labour Party. She says Nigel Farage is stuffing his party full of the failed Tories responsible for the chaos and decline that held Britain back for 14 years. Suella Braverman helped botch Brexit and got sacked as Home Secretary. Her defection shows Farage is willing to accept the very worst of the Conservative Party and exposes his complete lack of judgment. While Reform's band of failed Tories focus on their careers, Keir Starmer's Labour government is focused on cutting the cost of living and fixing our NHS. Sir Keir Starmer, in the course of his remarks this morning, talked about how he supported Andy Burnham's bid to become Labour leader in 2015. Now, Mr Burnham, as we know, has stood twice before, 2010. That was when Ed Miliband was elected, and 2015 when he came second to Jeremy Corbyn. In fact, Sir Keir did more than support Andy Burnham in 2015. He nominated him. He was one of the 68 Labour MPs who nominated him. 4 more members of the current cabinet did as well. Rachel Reeves, Hilary Benn, Lisa Nandy, and Heidi Alexander, along with Senior Minister Dan Jarvis, and of course Lucy Powell and Angela Rayner, who remain Burnham supporters. Now, the Labour Party obviously is trying to move on. Mr Burnham has, to be fair, been fairly magnanimous about his blocking yesterday, talked about getting on with the job of Mayor of Greater Manchester. There may be some protests at a meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party tonight. We do know that many left-wing Labour MPs are furious about this, and some Burnham backers, particularly from the northwest of England. Now, there is a move by some Labour MPs to try and persuade the full National Executive. Remember, this decision that was taken yesterday was a subcommittee of only 10 members of the National Executive, voted 8-1, with Shabana Mahmood, the chair, abstaining. Lucy Powell was the only supporter of Mr Burnham yesterday. But there's a move to try and overturn that decision. Looking at the numbers, though, 8-1 looks pretty unlikely that that would succeed. The row will rumble on, as long as it's just left-wingers who are not naturally Starmer supporters. The leadership will probably not worry too much, and of course they'll be absolutely delighted that another Tory has gone to Reform UK.
Sure they will. John, thanks so much. You're watching Sky News Today. Coming up, the Education Secretary has written to schools telling them to be phone free. We'll be discussing next.
There's a fresh look to your news from 10 on Sky News.
It's a new show called The Wrap, every night of the week.
We'll still bring you the day's biggest stories,
but with more lively debate,
more in-depth commentary,
and more of what you need to know.
Plus a look at what's making tomorrow's headlines.
The Wrap.
Everything wrapped up for you from 10 on Sky News.